Hey guys, Tonic here, and it is finally time to talk about Starfield. Now, over the past 2 weeks, I've been playing Starfield. This game releases for everyone in just a couple of days now, and if you pre-ordered it and got early access, then you can hop in tomorrow. Starfield is Bethesda's first new universe in over 25 years, and I'm a huge fan of the Fallout series and the Elder Scrolls games, and once this was announced, I was excited. And a quick disclaimer, I was provided with a review copy from Bethesda, so a huge thank you to them. Now, I am not required to say anything one way or the other, so in this review I'm going to give you my honest opinion on Starfield. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Starfield is an open-world RPG set in space developed by Bethesda Game Studios, and if you've played Bethesda games in the past like the Fallout games or the Elder Scrolls games, then this game will feel familiar. You explore, do quests, fight, loot items, level up, and progress through a main storyline. And I gotta say, it just feels amazing playing a new Bethesda RPG. That sense of exploration and freedom is there, and it just feels so good to explore a new setting and meet new characters. But getting started with the review, I'm going to break it up into several parts, and I'll add timestamps so you could skip around if you'd like. There won't be any major spoilers, and we'll talk about the basics of the story, overall gameplay and combat, the perk system, graphics and sound design, and lastly performance. Then I'll give my final thoughts at the end. So starting with the story, you will start the game as a miner. After getting familiar with the cutter and mining for a bit, you will then discover a mysterious artifact that the company had been hired to find. After touching the artifact, we have a cosmic vision, and wake up to the character creator. This character creator is similar to other Bethesda games, but it is a large improvement over previous ones. There are some more customization options, and for my character I went for a space cowboy kind of look. And here in the character creator we can also pick our background, and I went for the space scoundrel for an early boost in pistols, piloting, and persuasion. Then we also have some traits, and for these I went with hero worshipped, neon street rat, and wanted. With our character created, our journey into space finally begins. We are sent to New Atlantis to find a group called Constellation, and Constellation is a group of explorers who are looking to learn about the artifact that you uncovered. From here, you will go on a huge journey to explore the galaxy and find answers to some of humanity's biggest questions. And that's all I'm going to say on the main story. I don't really want to spoil anything. This was all just the first 15 minutes or so, but I will say that I find it very interesting and I really like it. And I'm just over 40 hours in and I still want to keep playing and learn more. Now there are also tons of side quests, and most of the side quests that I've played so far are really good. Some are pretty long and some are shorter, but overall I think the quests and the storyline are solid. Moving on to the overall gameplay and combat, it all feels pretty good. Again, if you have played a Bethesda game in the past, then this game will feel very familiar. You can play it in first and third person, you will do quests, or you can just go off and explore, and there is a ton of stuff to loot. I was actually surprised at how packed some of these areas are with loot. You can land on a random planet, find a deserted science outpost, and spend 30 minutes running around exploring it and looting it. Now with all of that loot, you will of course have to manage your inventory. And again, just like other Bethesda games, you will have a weight limit. And in Starfield it's called your mass. Every item will have its own mass, and once you go over your total mass, you will get over encumbered. So you will have to decide what's worth taking or leaving. There are also legendary items in the game. There are legendary weapons, helmets, packs, and spacesuits. You can get them from certain quests or from containers, or you can even kill legendary enemies and loot them. And speaking of enemies, you will encounter a few different kinds. There are space pirates, enemy factions, mercenaries, gangs, robots, and even alien life forms. It does feel like there's a decent amount of variety when it comes to enemies, and I usually wouldn't find myself fighting the same people over and over again. As far as the combat goes, the combat feels pretty good. Now it is a Bethesda game and they aren't really known for having the best combat, but it does feel good and it's definitely a huge upgrade over Fallout 4's combat. There are some new things about the combat that I really like. For example, there is a new vaulting mechanic, and this is awesome. Usually movement during combat isn't the best in Bethesda games, but this does make it much better. If an enemy is up on some ledge, I can vault up there and I find myself using it a lot. And fighting in low gravity is pretty fun. Enemies will fly towards you or fly to cover, and when they die they just float around and you can actually use them as cover. And some weapons will push you back when you shoot, and it just feels really cool and it works pretty well. There is also space combat. You can fly a ship and fight in space. Now at first I was worried that this wouldn't feel the best, so I wasn't sure what to expect, but I was surprised with how good it felt. It actually feels really good flying around and shooting at enemy ships. And one of my favorite parts about ship combat is that you can actually target a ship's engine and disable the ship, then fly over and board it. And once you board the ship, you can fight inside of the ship and take it over. And it all just flows really well, and it's actually pretty fun. You can also customize your ship, and the ship builder did take me a while to get used to, but you can do a lot and you have a lot of freedom when it comes to building a ship. You can customize your original one, buy a new one and customize it, or even steal one and customize it. You can add all sorts of different parts and weapons and even change the color. Also, along with the ship builder, there's also an outpost building system. And I haven't really spent too long on this yet, but basically you can go to almost any planet and build a little base. You can build resource extractors, living quarters, all sorts of stuff. You can even hire people to come live at your outpost, and it's similar to Fallout 4's settlement system and Fallout 76's camp system. Overall, it feels pretty good, but again, I haven't spent too much time on this yet. I'm still looking for that perfect planet to call home. And speaking of planets, procedural generation plays a big part in Starfield, and I was skeptical of this because one of my favorite parts of Bethesda games is exploring the big handcrafted maps and discovering cool things around every corner. But honestly, it works pretty well. Pretty much if you click on a planet, you will have specific areas that you can land, things like cities, outposts, mines, abandoned structures, stuff like that. But you can also land just about anywhere you want, and if you land somewhere random, an area will be created. Now these new areas are not completely empty. Even though they are randomly generated, some handcrafted stuff will be placed in with it. So for example, on this planet we have a forest, and off in the distance we have some points of interest. So heading over to this one, I stumbled across this outpost that was being used by a faction, and inside the outpost there were tons of enemies, loot, notes, terminals with lore, all sorts of stuff, and it all felt very natural. And once you are done exploring, you can run over to another area and check it out, or fast travel back to your ship. Fast traveling works well. You can travel between places on a planet, and you can even fast travel to other planets. Moving on to the skills, here are all of the skill trees. We have physical, social, combat, science, and tech. To unlock a new skill, you will need skill points, and you can get these from leveling up, but every skill that I've chosen so far has really impacted the gameplay. For example, unlocking stealth will allow you to sneak. Rank 1 of the skill will add in the stealth meter and make you more difficult to detect while sneaking, and every rank beyond that will increase your sneaking ability. Another skill that I really like is the persuasion skill. Every rank of this skill will help with persuading someone, and the new persuasion system is pretty neat. So in dialogue, sometimes you will get the option to persuade someone, and it will start a little mini game. You will have to try and choose the right answers to fill those dots, and once those dots are full, you can pass the persuasion. It's really helpful, and I find myself using it quite a bit. And then we also have some basic skills, things like weapon skills. For example, I'm going for a pistol build, and every rank of the pistol skill will increase your damage with pistols. In tech, we have some skills to help with space combat and flying your ship. There is also boost pack training, and that allows you to use boost packs, and this skill is one of my favorites. Moving on, I'd like to quickly talk about the graphics and sound design. The graphics are a huge upgrade compared to past Bethesda games, and honestly, I'm not huge on graphics. It could look just like Fallout 4 and I'll still put tons of hours into it. But they are good. A lot of the planets and locations are absolutely beautiful, and the interiors look amazing as well. As far as the sound design goes, the voice acting is solid, the sound of ships taking off is great, the combat is good, weapons sound strong, and explosions sound good, and the music for the game is phenomenal. It really matches the theme, and while you are exploring, you have the music and the sounds of the planet. It's just awesome. Let's quickly talk about performance. I play on PC, I have a 3070 and an AMD Ryzen 7, and I was averaging around 60 to 70 FPS in high settings. It actually feels pretty optimized. In bigger open areas like cities and exploring planets, I dipped down to around 60 FPS, and in interiors I'd get around 80 to 90 FPS. It runs pretty smooth, and I haven't had a single crash yet in over 40 hours of playing. And as far as bugs go, I really haven't seen that many. Usually Bethesda games do launch with bugs, it's been like that for as long as I can remember. But again, I haven't seen that many, and the bugs that I have seen are pretty small. I'll throw up a few clips right now. They're not very common, but I have seen them a few times. I've seen a few NPCs glitch out for a second and then go back to normal, and a few items flopping around, but that's pretty much it. I have not experienced any game-breaking bugs or glitches. I haven't had anything that affects my quests. And again, I'm really surprised with how smooth it is. Even those bugs I mentioned, I've only seen a few times, and all my hours of playing, these are the only ones that I saw, so they do seem pretty rare. In the end, I really like Starfield. I've been excited for this game for a long time, and I went in with high expectations, and I'm happy to say that it far exceeded my expectations. This game is phenomenal. The art style is awesome, the lore is great, the characters and quests are cool, and the story has me hooked. I constantly find myself wanting to keep playing and keep exploring, and it just feels so good to have a new Bethesda game to explore. I'm left with that same feeling I felt when I played Fallout 3 for the first time as a kid. I highly recommend Starfield if you are a fan of previous Bethesda games. It has a great story that sucks you in, a ton of replayability options, a vast galaxy to explore, tons of side quests to experience, and characters to meet, and I will definitely be playing this game for the next few years. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope that I answered some questions about the game that you might have had. But that is pretty much going to be it for this video, so I would like to say thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I really do appreciate it. And as always, I'd like to give a massive thank you to all of the channel members: Ubi, Dick Johnson, Esdeath93, Mazader, Terry Lockridge, MXZ Gaming, Radcon, Ice Cream Manny, Jays the Aussie, Geoper Vincente, I Am Mr. Me Not You, Dr. Calamari, Argent Deer, Shaky Hands Workshop, Leo the Collector Plays, Loopy, Adam Steinson, Robert Kennard, CRM114, Theodore, Slappy Sauce, King Kittens, Omniprotus, Victrix, Axel, Kevin W, Anna S, Fallout McFly, Networkgate, Golty Lanthar, Captain Awesome, Heather Henderson, Patrick Ruda, 20th the Icefire, Bouts of Double Frank, Christy Mellon Schwitz. Thank you guys so much. I love you guys, and have a great day.